Asin Photumakal, and I hope I got that right, I've been practicing very hard, is as unusual as is her name. She's got talent, looks and hits in both Hindi and Tamil cinema under her belt. If her surname is famous now, it's because she's made it so herself. She's the star of Gajni in both Hindi and Tamil, a woman who has starred opposite stalwarts like Kamal Hassan and Amir Khan and still made her presence felt. A star of Bollywood and Tollywood with fans all the way from the Hindi heartland to Tirunavanthapuram. Asin, you've made it in Bollywood without a godfather, and in that sense your life is an example of how it is possible to succeed without a foothold in the system. Can you say that you've survived without compromising with your ideals?
Thank you, Rahul. It is Asin Photumakal. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here today. I think as someone who's part of the youth of India today, what we're discussing here is a very relevant topic. What first comes to my mind is something that I remember my father saying a long time back. He said, anyone who's not a rebel before the age of 35 and a rebel after the age of 35 is not a normal person. Interesting observation. Well, I feel that the youth, we all know, yes, the youth have a strong desire for change, and that's how ideals are born. Ideals are born because we want the change in whatever is the existing system, whatever is supposed to be normal, that's happening. So youth generally desire change. They have a lot of energy, they have a lot of motivation, passion, a certain fire in the belly attitude, all that is there, yes, but we see that as reality sets in, as life goes on, that tends to sort of mellow down, and you're forced to be practical, and that means you have to compromise your ideals for the sake of plain survival. So I think compromise, whether we do it or not, or to what extent, I think that determines the change that one can bring about. And when we say change, I mean positive change in society. Since I am from the film industry, I probably talk about the field of films. We find scores and scores of artists, filmmakers, technicians, actors who are fresh, who start fresh out of film school with new ideas to break clutter, to new approaches to cinema, to method acting, to adopting the spit and polish of Western filmmaking, etc. And yes, we do have the talent and we're capable of that and much more. But then they come into the Maya Nagri and they try and find their feet among scores of people who are jostling to get their toe into the industry. And in the industry, everything, everybody is a commodity, exactly replaceable by the next talented non-name. So eventually, what happens is in the bid to pay one's rents, bills, you tend to sort of accept any sort of work that comes your way. Still confident that once you've made it, then you can sort of dictate the terms as to what kind of work you really want to do. But the reality is that the jostle never ends. There's always constant competition. If a formula works, I'm just talking out of experience, or since I'm part of the industry, if a formula works, then it's flogged to death. New ideas be damned. That's despite the fact that the formula fails. Soon after it changes from being a novel idea to a formula. Actors, directors in general are criticized for being sellouts. People often watch certain films and wonder how could people working on these films not realize what a pathetic product this is. But maybe the reality is that people working on the films do realize that their idea is weak, but if they say no to that, then they will simply be replaced by the next commodity, and then the juggernaut will roll on. So mediocre products will still continue to be made, and products which lack soul will continue to be made unless somebody stands up and says out loud that, hey, I'm not doing this, and risk the fallout. And as an actor, and I think Ranveer can understand what I'm saying, as an actor that would mean lesser endorsements, lesser visibility, lesser PR coverage, and lesser so-called industry friends. But that, I think, is the only way to get the soul back into the business. Small choices that you make that probably for the extra amount of money or popularity or fame in this case. But let me not go on about films. Take any field for that matter. Maybe media. It's a business that I'm in constant interaction with, so maybe media. I'm sure that half of the journalists that who we call the hacks of today are people who started out wanting to change the world, but then came the low-paying, long hours in the edit room, the paid, the PR content in the publication, the agenda upon agenda of the publication, the editors, the advertisers, hard cash paid in exchange for coverage, etc. So the truth in the middle of all this may get lathered with a lot of motives and restrictions, and then due to economic as well as political motives. So any field, social welfare, education, politics for that matter. So the examples are very and many, but my point here is that the selling of values and integrity is never one clean sweep. It is a layered process. It is brought about by a lot of factors like economic necessity, herd mentality, also a fear of loss, and basic, I feel, self-preservation. All of this very valid human instincts. So I feel that we should stick together and create an order which where integrity is built into the system, and also as individuals hope to not compromise too much or minimalize our compromises. That would probably bring about the change that we are looking for. And also we as individuals should have the courage to stand by our ideals. To make changes, we need to think differently and to stand by those thoughts and act bravely upon it. So, so those are my thoughts on change and how to bring that about. And when I mean change, as I think everybody is capable of change, not just the youth. The youth maybe even more because they have a lot of energy, like I said, a lot of power, a lot of motivation and drive. But everybody, in the smallest of ways, it need not be some explosive, drastic, radical, revolutionary change. But in the slightest of ways, I might be giving a very silly example, but since Rahul mentioned my name, let me just give you a short history on that and relate it to what I am saying right now. I'm born to a very traditional Orthodox Kerala Catholic family. So according to the system, I am to be named after my grandmother and called Mary. But my parents wanted to not create any segregation on the basis of caste, creed, religion, or even sex. They believe in humanity, so they named me Asin, which is A is from Sanskrit, the first letter of the alphabet, and Sin, of course, from English. Put together means without sin, pure, without any blemish. So they sort of thought out of the box. I'm sure my father faced a lot of emotional blackmail from my grandmother, but they did make that little change. And how? And another, I'm not saying that made a whole different change in society, but at least it kind of made me want to live up to my name or strive to do so. And now in the position that I'm in, if those thoughts of secularism, of humanity are in my activities, then that might probably influence the people, some of the people in the society too, because of the so-called celebrity status that I might carry. So I was just saying small changes and just relating to the name thingy. Small changes can make a difference and bring about a lot of greater changes in society and we can move towards progress. And what is progress and development? I think that is progress and development is something that happens when there is a sincere attempt at steering reality towards idealism. So I think we are definitely aiming at development, and like Tanya ma'am said, it's time to create a new reality. So thank you all so much for your time and listening to me.